Well, hello there, and welcome to another wonderful edition of the gloriousness of Marriage Matters with me, Andy.
And me, Joe.
And this is Matters of the Marriage That Matter, because marriage matters, so we talk about it, and it's therefore called Marriage Matters.
Yeah, and to confuse things further, that our title might not help.
No, the title's going to completely throw you. Anyway, if you don't want to miss out on what we're doing as a family in the ministry, and I promise you, you want to stay in touch with what's coming up and what's going on, because it's really, really exciting. Best thing you can do actually is go to the website www.berrybunch.family, and if you sign up to the newsletter, top left hand corner, you can get a weekly or monthly newsletter, and you'll know all that we're doing.
Yes.
So what's this wonderfully complicated title?
Well, it's called Marriage Matters, and we're going to focus on finances, so it's money matters.
Marriage Matters covers money matters.
Yeah.
Because matters of the money matter in marriage.
Absolutely. And so money is what we need to use to function in life in this country and across the world. You have a love-hate relationship with it sometimes. Some of us have got lots of it, some of us haven't got so much. But you enter a marriage, and I think it's part of marriage preparation, isn't it? That you look at how you might sort of look after your finances. And I know some people taking turns to function and look after finances. Sometimes people do it together. But it is a bone of contention. It can be. We talk about how you argue in marriage, in relationships, and oftentimes you can't remember what on earth you were arguing about. But if you talk to people and they say, what were you arguing? Sometimes, and many times, it is finances, isn't it? It's money can cause many arguments.
There are a few common topics. Money's definitely up there. Money or sex, in-laws.
Yeah.
These are kind of the common ones, really, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So we thought it'd be really good to spend some time talking about money in marriage, because money in marriage matters.
Money matters, marriage matters. Matters of the marriage that matter because money matters. Gets worse.
Have we covered that then?
We have.
Excellent.
But we have got some really cool new little adverts.
Ooh.
Super exciting, starting with... I'll see it. Oh, that one.
Family prayer time. So what is it, Peter?
Well, it's where me and Mum, or Joe, we find a subject for a prayer, so maybe the psalm or a country, and then we pray as we feel led. And Bob's your uncle.
It's excellent. Yeah, absolutely. It's family prayer time. Me and Pete pray together, and we'd like you to pray as a family. So join us for family prayer time.
Hit the button a bit early on that one.
Did you?
The end hadn't quite ended. We do this live. This is the whole recording,
I know, and it's new adverts. That was a really good one. Even though I say so myself because I was in it.
Thank you. I edited it well.
Oh, well done. So we've got our tea. We're here for the meaty section, the main part.
Can you have tea with meat?
Yeah, I think so. You can have tea with anything, I reckon.
That's fine.
Perhaps not ice cream. So meaty section, and this is where we sort of really explore this area of money matters, finances of the heart, isn't it? We've got a scripture. I saw you poised there with your Bible.
He's poised.
This one came to mind about arguments, wasn't it?
It wasn't. I've lost it.
James. I think good old James.
It is James, and it's chapter Hosea. No.
Oh no, that's not right, is it?
I was trying to think. It's not.
I remembered the content, but I couldn't remember where it was in the Bible.
No, it's fine. James 4:1. Hold on to your hats.
Okay.
What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? You want something, but don't get it. You kill and covet, but you cannot have what you want. You quarrel, you fight. You do not have because you do not ask God. When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures.
Ooh, great talking there from James again.
I'm just going to duck and...
I know, yeah.
Duck and cover.
I think the reason why I thought about that one, it was, again, because in marriage, we do argue about money. And we do need to talk about it. And sometimes you don't really want to. You want to bury your head in the sand, don't you, about money? We've had our ups and downs, haven't we? And we were going to share something of that, weren't we?
We call this real talk for a reason.
It's been, I don't remember the marriage preparation, to be honest. It was quite brief for us, and I don't remember about finances. But we've had some some serious arguments, haven't we, around finances?
We've had some serious financial
Well,
strains.
yeah. To be fair, and we've got through some
gone
difficult
through.
times. But yeah, it's sort of we have different perhaps ideas of what we'd like to spend the money on, and it's a finite amount.
What to spend, how to spend it, when to spend it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We have no savings. We haven't had savings for years and years. And everyone thought, oh, you must have some savings. It's great to have savings.
If you
We've
can,
had
yeah.
savings, and they all went.
Yes.
So if you can have savings, it's brilliant. But it's we'll come on to that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what's interesting about marriage is you it's like any sort of you have different periods of times in your life. So we always think, right, when we first got married, we were dinkies. You might have heard that expression before.
Double income, no kids yet.
Yeah, so quite a nice time where you got quite a bit of money and you haven't got a family to spend it on, and you're just starting off in life, although arguably you've got a lot more to pay out. So you go through different periods of life. If you have children, you've got money to spend there, all kinds of different periods of time. And we, as a couple, we in our marriages need to get through these times, don't we? So
Shall I tell some of our little story?
go on then.
So when we were first married, Joe cared for the finances. I'm not even sure how we decided or split it up, to be honest. It's just Joe did the finances, so she did. And that was fine. And then when our first son came along, so 18 years ago and a bit, I became a stay-at-home dad full time. So I, around that time, started looking after the finances. I can't really remember much of that. I know Joe was using bits of paper, and I know it infuriated me because every time she said, can we just reconcile the banks or just check something? It would be there for hours. How many, like 15 times going through all those hundreds of calculations. So my first job was to go to a spreadsheet on Excel. I'm not exactly an Excel fan. I've just learned to use it for what we need. And it worked for us. Because the one thing that Excel, and this is one of those things, it's an interesting little allegory for life, but when mistakes and errors easily creep in, so does frustration and all the rest of it. And the one thing that I found with a piece of paper is you can spill a cup of coffee on it. You can lose a page. The dog can chew it. And there's all these things. So we have a spreadsheet. It's also in the cloud on our cloud storage. So if we ever lose it, we've got the details, and that's kind of important. And I didn't want to just trust the bank, because banks are businesses. Don't ever think banks are your friend. They're really not. They're businesses out to make money from you, like any other business. So I took over the finances, and I use spreadsheets. And we've had some humongous challenges financially, including, but not limited to, we had a bankrupt, well, not bankrupt, so we had a time when our business was forced to close during a recession. We didn't actually go bankrupt. We actually managed to stave that off. We just about survived. We stayed just on the black side of okay in terms of banking. And that was good. But it's really hard. You know, when you've got tens of £1,000s of debt, you got people wanting money, and you're like, I have no money, I have no job. That was my job. That was our business. So that was a really tough time coming out of there with no jobs, no income, all the rest of it. God provided a way through there, and I managed to get us through with God, but I got us through that time. It was difficult. We've had 4 periods of unemployment, 4 periods of unemployment. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's really hard. How do you get through unemployment? We've moved house so many times because of the joys of renting. I remember some people say, oh, you should settle down, stay in the same place. Do you know, we'd love to. It's called landlords, and they want to sell the house. We've had to move times much more than, we're more than most military families. We've moved house, and it's not choice. It's life, and that happens. And the thing about moving a house, it's like £1.5 grand, £2,000 a time, 2,000 quid to move, however you want to do it. And we do it all ourselves. So I've managed to get us through, navigate us through all this time. And it got to a few months ago, and I said to Joe, I can't do this anymore. I feel like a baton-hardened veteran with PTSD from finances because we've had these financial traumas. I've carried us through, but there is a cost to having be on the bank sometimes 3 and 4 times a day, waiting for some money to come in so you can pay a bill and all of that stuff. There's a bit of a long segue there, but I mean, that's what we've been through. That's been 25 years of marriage. That's a snapshot for you guys about some of the things we've been through. And yet through that, God's been there and we've got through.
Yeah.
But we've literally just switched on the 1st of this month. We're in September 22. Joe's now looking after the finances. There's a little bit of a, a handover and stuff, but I couldn't cope anymore. I've brought the family through traumas, and I'm quite happy with that. But I'd come to the end. And I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think we might do another part on this, because money matters could part 2, part 3, and maybe fill you in on how it's been going. Because as I say, Andy says we've changed things. Going back to what you're saying, I suppose you need to find systems that work for you, whether it be an Excel spreadsheet. I just remember fond memories of your grandma, who always kept a book, didn't she? She was
meticulous.
absolutely meticulous, and she was very good. I mean, you get really decent bookkeepers and things, and they have got it on this book, and it is absolutely perfect.
She was
So
meticulous. When she passed away, we came in, we tried to look at the finances, like, okay, where are we at? She was accurate to the penny.
yeah, fantastic.
It was phenomenal. But the thing is that the bank accounts don't stand still. Life doesn't stand still.
Yeah.
There's an allegory for life in here. Bank accounts. I mean, Joe said, do you have to spend some more money? I've just got the bank sorted. Sorry, more money's going out. That's life. It never stands still. And in financial terms, it never stands still because there's direct debits and there's standing order payments and there's extra payments for this. And, I haven't paid that yet. And, you know, you can make as many plans as you want. It can still go wrong.
I remember what you said. You said, we need to set budgets and things like that. And as we were discussing and transferring across to me, but you said something about, but don't forget about there's also faith, isn't there? It's like, hang on, I'm just getting my head around like the practical side and what's this? And as Christians, as a married couple, we know God provides, and there is, we do need to walk in faith.
I've got more on this.
But yeah, go on then.
So one of the real challenges is we've been living by faith for a long time. We've been in full-time ministry. We know what full-time church ministry is like. That's really hard and tough. When you're serving the people that are paying your wages, it's a challenge. We came out during COVID, but now Joe works full-time, but actually we still live by faith because I stay at home with the boys, but I stay at home to do Berry Bunch. So they were saying, how many hours do you do a day? And I'm like, I'm sure, maybe 2 or 3 hours every hour. And I love what I do. But there is an element of faith. So as Christians, we should be planning for the future. We should be making preparations and all this stuff. When the energy crisis came, we sat down as a family, prayed about it and said, right, what's our half? So we bought a slow cooker to make soup. So we're trying to meet God in the middle. There's an Andy B video we will link to all about meeting God in the middle. And what does that look like with an omnipresent God? Where's the middle? But yeah, there is a faith element to being a Christian. For example, we bought the camera that you're watching us through right now. We had a gift that paid for half of that. We didn't have the other half. We had no money to pay for it, actually. We could not physically afford it. We paid for it anyway because we had peace and we believed in faith. That's what God was asking us to do. 5 months later of paying this camera off through a scheme we were able to find, which was really helpful, we were given £1,000 to buy a computer. And that was stunning. We didn't spend £1,000 because some of that money actually went to the camera. So 5 months on from buying the camera, God then provided the rest of the money for the camera.
Yeah.
That's living by faith.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what you were saying, that we didn't go bankrupt, but we did have like, what was it called? A sort of debt sort of support people, didn't we? And I remember how awkward it was because they asked us to write down what you needed to spend. And of course, as Christians, we wanted to have our giving or a tithe, a sort of 5 to 10% or whatever, and they just couldn't get their heads around that. It's really hard to explain to a non-Christian about that kind of.
They couldn't get the rent
finance.
Actually.
Yeah.
Their witnesses, we're rather concerned. Your rent is like half what everybody else is paying in this area. How can it be 50%? It was really simple. We work for a church and they care about their staff.
Yes,
but this never happens. Yeah, well, the church does some good things sometimes. So we were paying 50% the going rate, which was, quite a lot. We moved into quite an expensive area. So it's what we've been paying somewhere else in the country.
Yeah.
Where we'd moved to, it was 50% of the going rate. Well, that's called being in ministry. God's always provided.
Yeah, absolutely. So in and amongst this whole money matters, you've got the practical side. You need to find systems in place between you. You need to work out how you're going to have your spending. So there's an attitude of heart towards us. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I checked somewhere. I think there's about 2,000 references to money in the Bible. So it's an important thing. You have to have the right heart and attitude towards money, and all kinds of things. And so we've obviously just taken one a piece of scripture, which isn't actually about money, but we know that money can cause
spending
problems.
on earthly pleasures. You want money because you want to spend it on pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do need money, and of course we need to be good stewards
Do
of
we
our
need
money.
money?
Well, in terms of we need money to buy stuff.
You made me learn a lesson that we don't need
what
money.
did I do?
So when we said to God, please God, teach us faith. And the first thing that God made absolutely crystal clear beyond any shadow of a doubt, loads of confirmation, sell your house. Right. So we actually had a house we owned. Now, being the market as it is, I knew at the time we're probably never going to own a house again unless the business that we're going to invest into actually makes money enough to buy another house. We invested all the profit out of the house into this business. The business grew phenomenally. We're like, oh, great, we'll buy a house one day. Then the recession hit. Now, that act of faith was us saying to God, what do you want us to do? And I remember saying to Joe at the time, put a house on the market, well, we need the money for the business. And Joe said, we don't need money for God to set us up in business. And it took me a year almost to the day to say to Joe, we don't need money. I finally got it. And then the house sold the next day.
Yeah.
You don't need money ever to do what God's asking you to do.
That reminds me of another story. Whilst we were in business, we just weren't getting the income. People weren't coming into the shop. It might have been something to do with there was this road closure and things like that. And we thought, oh crumbs, this is really bad. We really need some more money. And we got worried if we were, because we did worry. And then anyway, we prayed about it. And then so one day we were like, crumbs, we're on our last legs, the shop's going to have to close. And then within 24 hours we had loads of people coming in and loads of money, and it taught me a lesson, like from day to day. God does say one day at a time, doesn't he? Yeah,
it's really easy. We've hit time here, but I'm going to carry on.
Yeah, okay.
It's really easy to see the situation humanly and think, well, this is what we have to do. I'll tell you what we're going to do next week. We'll do marriage matters, money matters part 2.
I think so, yeah.
Because we haven't touched on any of the stuff we've planned.
Absolutely, yeah.
We've just shared some of who we are, really, in our story. But I think what was important to say in this one is money is one of the single greatest stresses in life, and it can be a strain. It really won't work very well for you, almost guarantee this, pretty much, if you're trying to do everything equally together. Because the thing about marriage is you commit to the relationship. And we were having this chat off air a little bit earlier. If you look at your marriage, I need to make lots of compromise. We'll compromise together. You're going to have how do I put this in delicate terms? Your marriage isn't going to be as good as it can. Why? Because marriage is not about compromising. Marriage is about sacrifice. It's not about what do I have to give up to get what I want, which is compromise. How much am I willing to give to have peace or happiness? Actually, marriage is about sacrificing of yourself to another person. And if you both commit, the more you commit, the more vulnerable you become towards one another, the better that marriage can be. It can be bad too, but we don't really focus on those things. This is, we're always talking about gold standard of marriage. Not that ours is the gold standard, but what's God's gold standard? And we've got one version of that. So the more you commit, the more you give, the better it's going to be. So one of us that's always looked after finances. How many times have I heard people about saying really like good 30, 40, 50, 60-year married couples, and they're saying, one of us looked after the finances. Don't ever try and do it together.
Yeah.
One of you needs to make decisions. Because if you're both making decisions, you're going to compromise. And the problem with compromise is you're giving up stuff of yourself, which isn't necessarily helpful or healthy, because rather than giving, you should be sacrificing. And there's a big difference. And it's the difference between 10% tithing and giving in the New Testament. The Old Testament, New Testament tithing model is really appropriate here. In the Old Testament, you give your first 10%. That's it. In the New Testament, it's a good guide, 10%-ish. That's a good starting point. We don't tithe in the normal sense. We spend out for Berry Bunch. So a lot of our money that we would tithe goes towards what we do for our ministry. And there's different ways of doing it. And we give time. So I give time to other people and I do other projects for other folks off the back of what we do here. So I'm using some of our same skills, resources. So it's not money, but it's time. And that's the difference between the Old and the New Testament. You have to give you 10%. New Testament says you need to give and give with your heart. And if you give with your heart in your marriage, when it comes to money, your marriage will prosper as a result.
Yeah, well, that's a good place to end, isn't it?
It's good, that one. So we'll do Marriage Matters, Money Matters, part 2 next week. But there's more yet. Don't go away.
You'll never guess what. Dave the dog has his own show, and it's called Dave Unleashed.
Are we sure about this?
Well, I'm going to be there on hand. I'm going to help him.
What mayhem are we to expect?
Well, to keep him on track, he's got story time, he's got art time. So, and I'll be there to help him.
What could possibly go wrong?
Some great new adverts there to listen to and watch. Yeah. So this is our tips and resources section. Absolute wealth of resources and tips around finances, you can imagine.
I've got some websites. You got some books.
Yeah. So, obviously CAB, was it CAP? Christians.
Yeah, it might be.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
All right, then I'll leave that. This is a couple of books that helped us because we we talked about some of our financial struggles. And so there's this one. I don't know if you're experiencing debt or just like to get your money under control, or there's someone that you know could do with some help, or just prevent it from happening. This is a good one, 60-minute debt buster. When I did read it recently, I thought, oh, some of it's a bit out of date, but none of it really, it stands the test of time, doesn't it? Because nothing changes.
Principles don't change.
Yeah, the principle is that you don't spend more than you've got. But that's a really helpful one for staying out of debt or dealing with debt. And this one,
good.
absolutely
This
brilliant.
is so
Rob
good.
Parsons, The Money Secret. I've just decided to read it again, so I'll come back maybe next week with what I've learned from it. But I can't remember.
good.
But it's a really powerful book that will really, really help you stay on track with your finances.
It turns on its head. I haven't done this again. It turns on its head some of the ideas of our assumptions, our stereotypes, our generalizations about people with money and without. That's one of the bits of the book that I think is especially valuable. And it paints, as I remember, this picture of a poor family looking across this canal or something at this rich person. And it tells a story of both of these people. And actually, well, he might have a nice looking house, but he still can't buy food. And they may have a house that's less nice, but they still can't buy food. And it kind of makes this balance of, do you know what, you can't look and assume.
Yeah, it's funny because coronavirus days sort of put sort of rich and poor at a sort of level playing fields, because we were all unable to get about doing our own business and stuff. And even this sort of energy crisis, although arguably the poor may be more, but then there may be more help for them. So we're all going to be hit by it and affected by it.
No one's
aren't we, sort of
unaffected.
thing, yeah.
I mean, billionaires maybe, but
Okay, yeah. So yeah, top tips, those books, and we'll send out those links.
can I do my websites now?
Oh yeah, sorry, yes.
You planned all this. Anyway, Christians Against Poverty, absolutely brilliant charity. If you've not heard of Christians Against Poverty or CAP, go and check them out. Absolutely superb. I've done a CAP course in a church where you go and they help you think about how you manage your money. That was really, really good. I didn't learn a huge amount, but actually, even though I didn't learn loads, I gained loads of confidence that actually I had been doing a number of things that were good, and I picked up some useful things. So go and check out Christians Against Poverty. Absolutely brilliant charity. Obviously, not a Christian site, but Citizens Advice Bureau here in the UK. I'm not sure if you've got other ones around the world, you can let us know. But Citizens Advice Bureau is effectively free access legal advice that anybody can go into, and you can get help and support. We went in when we were unemployed one time, and they helped us. They gave us some food vouchers for a food bank because we couldn't buy food. So they Citizens Advice Bureau, just superb. If you've not heard of it, go and support it or make use of it. Another one which is really good, again not a Christian site, is Money Saving Expert Martin Lewis. Although he hasn't currently got any help around energy because he doesn't know what to do, because this is unprecedented, it's a really good website. There's so much on MSE, Money Saving Expert. Go and check it out, have a look, see what they've got. All these guides. If you want to buy car insurance, how do you save hundreds of pounds a year by the date you buy your car insurance? Just for example, in the UK particularly. So these are really good ones. Is that it?
Yeah. Another
new advert. Well, hello, my name's Andy B.
And I'm Jen.
And we've got some super exciting news.
News.
We've got some news.
You said you could do this, Andy.
Well, I did try. Anyway, we've got some exciting news, not noses, coming for you, because On Connect Radio is a brand new radio show called Family Focus. And it may be a shock, but actually we're doing it.
Yes. And not on our own, because we've got a really cool dog called Dave.
Yes.
Dave, the dog, who joins us.
Yes, Dave the dog, who's a dog called Dave. It doesn't get much more complicated
He's
than
dead
this.
funny. He's dead funny.
He's very funny. He comes along and helps. We've got a good contract for him.
Yeah.
So that's coming up. We've also got the doggy cushion where we talk about family successes.
Highs and lows.
Highs and lows of
family
life. So whether you're 0888, 888, then you're welcome to join us. Well,
you don't have to do maths on this show.
No, it's fine. We don't. So come join us for some great chat, some great music, and some great stuff coming up on Connect Radio Family Focus. Like I said, there's some exciting times here on the Berry Bunch. Whether it's Dave Unleashed or Connect Radio, can't get away from us. So this is the takeaway. I do like saying the takeaway. That was good. Anyway, the takeaway where we take away what we can learn. And actually we learn stuff too. So it's not just, you go and take away. Actually, we take this away too. It's quite good. So what have we got to take away? Well, the first part to say is there's a second Marriage Matters Money Matters episode next week. when we're going to look much more at the relationship side. And how do we think that should work? How can it go wrong? Where are the good things? And what have we learned? And all that kind of stuff, which is everything we were going to do today and didn't do next week. So what have I learned today? Well, I think my takeaway today is this. What's your takeaway?
Oh, do you know, I've been racking my brains. We've talked, as you say, we've talked a lot about the money side of things rather than the relationship. But I'm reminded, I suppose, I err on the side of burying my head in the sand. I don't really want to know about the finances because I get a bit depressed. And so for me, my takeaway is, come on, let's look at this. That would be more honouring and better in the relationship, better for the marriage, and more honouring to God.
Information is power.
Yes.
Why do you think social media, hypothetically, has all these algorithms to see what you can see and what you can't see? Because information is power. There's a nice little political one for you. Whether they do or not is up to you. My takeaway, do you know what? I'm struggling with the takeaway today.
Yeah.
I think it's a reminder of the importance of the fact that money is really important. It's not that we need money. I made that point earlier.
Yeah.
You don't need money to do anything that God wants you to do. We were given this new computer, which is amazing. You know, someone actually bought us a computer, which, I mean, who does that? Somebody who loves Jesus and wants to support the ministry does that. But we don't need money. Our computer is on its last legs. We had no hope ever of paying for a computer ourselves. We were desperately in need of one. It's the central heart of our video ministry business, thing. So all the kind of busyness that we do, it's on a computer. So that's been an amazing blessing. And that's a reminder, actually, probably that is my takeaway. You don't need money to do what God's asking of you. And actually, you can do so much good in the world without any money whatsoever. I met once a guy at school, and he was an older chap, and he was coming in. He was doing like a tour of schools and whatever, and talking to us. I think he was from India originally, maybe, I can't remember. It's a long time ago. And he had no job, he had no house, he had no bank account, no money, and he went around, and he was a man of God. He believed that God was taking him around, and his ministry was going from country to country. How'd you do that if you've got no money? And he would just go around and stay with people a few days, live in a church for a bit and go on. And he just talked about what God was doing. He didn't take money off people. He wasn't after money. He just literally came and shared what God had done. And it was quite phenomenal to meet this guy in this brand new suit. Oh, I was staying with his family and the guy didn't like the suit, so I had it. What happened to your old suit? Well, I'd just thrown it in the bin that morning. It's that kind of thing. And when you live in this world, you need to be careful of your money and your finances, and you're running spreadsheets and tracking your money and all that. You got your pensions and all these things are all good. However, never forget the importance of faith.
Yeah, two stories from the Bible come to mind. One when Jesus told his disciples to put out a fish, and then the money came in the fish, wouldn't it, to pay the taxes? I love that one. And the other one is it the lady with the jar, and it just kept rolling through, never gave up.
Corrie ten Boom, there were two things in prison. One was a little bottle of vitamin oils, and it just kept on pouring vitamin oils in the prison camp, and it didn't seem to run out until they had another source of the same stuff. And it was just God's, making an exclamation mark. It's gone for, it went on for like a year or something after it should have run out. And she's like, oh, maybe it's just, it's aerating in the sides. And her sister would say, okay, Corrie, no, that's just Jesus. And you don't need money to do what God's asking you to do. I think where the conflict comes in is where we think we want to do this and we can't afford it. So God, you failed. You've let me down. I need money for this. And actually, most of the time, we just need to go back to God and say, what was your plan here, Lord?
Yeah.
What is it you want us to do? And God always provides.
Yeah.
So that's another Marriage Matters for you. Next week, more excitement. Marriage Matters, Money Matters, Part 2. And we're looking more at the relations. So we've kind of shared more of our own personal story and sort of setting it up, I suppose, a little bit. And next week, we'll talk about some more of the highs and the lows and the hellish moments of not having as much money as we would prefer.
Yeah.
Shall we put it that way?
Yeah.
So I hope you're well. Enjoy the show. We'll be back for more for next week. And what else do we do? I've forgotten something, haven't I?
Check us out on berrybunch.family.
Yes. If you're not already following us on the website, www.berrybunch.family.
Yep.
And don't forget to check out Connect Radio tomorrow, Sunday, 4 till 6. Family Focus with myself and Joe, Connect Radio. Bye for now.
Bye for now. Ways to keep in touch with the Berry Bunch. Visit our website and sign up to the Berry Bites newsletter so that you can be notified of all our videos, posts, exciting news and seasonal events.
Subscribe to our Vimeo and YouTube channels where we post brand new homegrown video resources every week.
Join us on Ding Dash, a fabulous place that connects people from all around the world. It's social media as it should be. Come join the rebellion.
Like us on Facebook, where we hang out and post extra things to encourage and inspire you. We're on Twitter and Tumblr too. You can also follow us on Instagram, where we share extra photos from the world of the Berry Bunch.
If you've enjoyed any of our posts or videos, share it with a friend and encourage them too. And if you want to encourage us, then like, comment and share on what we make. To help support the ministry we freely provide, check us out on Patreon, where you can support us financially as you feel led.